that Zoom meeting is over. Man, oh man, did I got the shits. Like, why do I feel like I was gonna be in trouble for something? Anyways, the Zoom meeting was with the principal and then a student help aide because the vice principal ended up having to go to another meeting. Anyways, I'm glad that's over. In a nutshell, it was about Grace and her social skills. She doesn't know how to. I mean, if you know, you know that Grace doesn't have any friends. I mean, she does have a few people, but not friends. Neptune's probably her closest friend right now. Grace doesn't know how to interact with other kids. And I guess the reports that were made was when Grace gets told to stop doing something, she doesn't stop, even after her friend tells her to. Not Neptune, but another. They never told me the other two kids' names. Grace is, from what my understanding, the two people who did report her, they are friends with Grace still. But I guess my understanding is that Grace will like poke, or she's had her hand on one of her friends' chest that got a little bit too close to their boob. Uh, I think she touched somebody's butt and had her hand on somebody's thigh, and it made them uncomfortable. Now, I told the principal, the same rule, I don't care that Grace is a girl, the same rules apply to Grace as they do her brother. No hands. I'm gonna have to tell her. I mean, we told her before when she was little, like, hands to yourself, right? Boundaries. I have to reiterate that to her now. She's not in trouble or anything like that. It's just, the school just wants to let me know that they think how Grace is going about making friendships, or maybe she likes her friends. Because I mean, some people know Grace has come out. I mean, she's been saying for years that she likes boys and girls. But I'm gonna have to talk to her. I mean, she's gonna feel embarrassed, man. I don't want her to feel embarrassed and then shut down. But I'm gonna have to reiterate to Grace the hands to yourself and don't be doing things without permission. They said she put one of her friends in headlock. I think she was playing around, but her friend didn't like it. The teacher's like, so she's like, well, it's just like the boys, like when they're all like out there, like play fighting and stuff like that, and then it goes too far, or they get told to stop and they don't. They said pretty much that Grace did that to one of her friends. I don't want to laugh at it because some kids aren't used to that. Uh, I mean, I don't like the fact that I ain't gonna yell at her, but I don't like the fact that she's doing things or has done something where I know for a fact Grace herself gets pissed off. And we've pointed this out to Grace. So Matt will go up and be like, oh, hey, Grace, and like poke her ear or whatever. And she's like, don't touch me, blah, right off the bat, right? Whether I do it or Matt does it. And then Grace will turn around. I mean, she'll get pissed at Matt for trying to play with her. She'll get pissed. And then she'll go do it to him. And he's like, nope, don't. Like, you get at me all the time when I try to play with you. And you don't let me. You get pissed at me. And then Grace, of course, gets pissed off at Matt, right? And so it sounds like she's doing that to her friends at school, which is not cool. I mean, I told the principal that too. And I mean, I told them too, socially, Grace's social skills are zilch. We've been wanting to get Grace tested for ADD or ADHD because of how she is. And to be honest, another thing that we wanted her to get checked for is if she's on the spectrum. Just because, I mean, we don't have family around, but I feel like if we've had family around to just see Grace and how she interacts, like, over the years, I feel like people might have been able to point things out. We don't have a family doctor, so that's, I mean, out here. Of course, walk-in clinics are easy to go into, but they're not going to help with Grace. Anyways, I was talking about that with the principal. They're going to put Grace on the list. They have about 50 students on the list right now. They're going to add Grace to it. And then they're also going to have somebody else there who can take a peek at her learning pretty much we want to get her learning tested and uh like psychological stuff. Like I told them, we've had people here before and we've had her at the hospital where we talked to like experts, right? And they said they don't have any concerns for Grace, but they were just looking on the mental health side of like suicidal stuff like that. That's what Grace was being checked out for. Uh but like the school's going to bring somebody in when they get down through the other students to check with the anxiety and panic attacks. That because they although they can see things with Grace, they can't do anything until they get solid proof of certain things. Not saying she has ADD or ADHD or she's on the spectrum or anything like that, but they need, I told them, like, yeah, put her on the list because she'll get checked probably a lot faster through the school than us trying to find somebody. We could go privately here, but it's going to cost a pretty penny. I mean, Grace seems to be doing good with schoolwork and that, but there's a lot of things that Grace, like, she talks a lot more now openly about stuff. So, like, I told Matt, like, I do think Grace needs to be checked for some things, specifically related to learning and whatnot. Like I said, she's doing good with schoolwork. But when I think about Grace's social skills and then how she is in classroom settings and doing schoolwork, and then I think about her bedroom and that, my mind goes straight to I personally feel like Grace is on the spectrum. She's in there somewhere. And that's perfectly fine. But yeah, the school's going to help us get her tested socially and psychologically, so that they can help Matt and I figure, like, they can help on their end, and then it'll also give Matt and I a place to start as well. And we all, like, yeah, because socially, I was telling them after they told me the other things they told me about Grace at school, she hasn't done anything to hurt anybody and she hasn't done anything bad, but her knowing boundaries and what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, which apparently I didn't do good enough at letting her know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. So I need to reiterate some things for her, but it seems like some of the friendships she's going to, some of them seem like possibly crushes. So not crushes, what would you say? Like when you're trying to make sure other people like you, so you might try things to make them like you more. Like, I don't know, try to kiss somebody, thinking like maybe if I kiss them, they'll like me more, stuff like that. Grace's, her social cues and that they seem to be off. And to me, I'm not going to put a label on her that, but that also makes me think possibly on the spectrum of, I mean, there's lots of things. I could list things off about Grace that we've noticed more, and then things that she's brought up herself. Like I said, Grace is she's super self-aware in a lot of things, but the more she talks to me about school and friendships and just how her brain and that works, it's like, yeah. And then she won't join any clubs at school. She won't, she's always in her head. Well, if I go in that room with 10 kids, they probably are all going to look at me and say I'm ugly and I'm fat and they hate me and whatnot. The principal did tell me they do know there are several kids at that school that know Grace and that like Grace. But she's too much in her head. But my focus right now is going to be, obviously the school's going to help get her evaluated and tested with the different things that they do. It's probably it might be the same thing that they did with David. David was diagnosed with ADHD. He hasn't gone on any medication for it. We slowly over time have been watching him, and he's kind of flatlined or whatever you want to call it. All the hyperactivity and stuff seems to be gone. But when he is gaming, I mean, you can hear him in there beating the shit out of his controller, cursing his head off, yelling at the TV and stuff. It's a bit ridiculous. But him socially now and things that he used to do, he stopped doing. Grace, though. Too bad, yeah. Man, I don't want to embarrass her when I tell her what the principal told me. And I need to reiterate to her too, make sure she actually hears me, that her 2 friends that reported her are still her friends. They just want to report that she was being a little inappropriate. They're still her friends. They didn't tell me what 2 girls. Grace might tell me. I would say on here, but I don't want what she did to be out there. She's going to be embarrassed. Yeah, man, I hope freaking shits. My stomach's like all... I told him, I was like, man, I'm such an anxious person too. Like, but like I try to tell Grace, like, sometimes you just got to breathe through it and work through it and just jump in, right? Ugh. She's, the principal, she's like, we haven't talked to Grace about any of this either. They're like, we don't know if we should talk to her first or you. And I was like, in all honesty, I know, Grace, if you guys bring what you told me up with her first, she's gonna shut right down and she won't say a peep because it's gonna be embarrassing. I was like, it'd be better for me to sit and talk with her about this stuff first, and then you guys can talk. I'll let you guys know how it goes, and then you guys can talk to her. She, the biggest thing with Grace is, like I said, the friendships, the social, how to be social. And the school said they can accommodate her, but they can't fully accommodate her the proper way until former testing and that is done. Like, it needs to be pen to paper stuff. I can see Grace saying, yeah, I ain't going to school tomorrow now. Hopefully, though, she goes, though. I'll just tell her, like, it's okay, kiddo. I asked her, too. I gave her, like, 3 days. I was like, did you put hands on anybody in any way? And I was like, is it possible your friends reported you for something? And she's like, I don't think so. All I can say is Grace is kind of ballsy, man. Okay, I'm going to say this. I mean, hopefully she never watches this, but one of her friends she put up against the wall and she tried to kiss them. The teacher said it's... I mean, it's kind of funny. That's why I say Grace is going to be embarrassed when I say this, but the teacher said, we don't know if she's been watching movies or seen something on the internet, but she's like, she put one of her friends up against the wall with like the arm and stuff and tried to kiss her friend. I was like, Grace is going to be so embarrassed when I bring that up. I'm going to try and like maybe... I'm going to bring up some scenarios and see if it like triggers something in her head. And I'll know, because usually when you say something and Grace becomes aware, she goes like that, like a realization, like, oh shit. She's not in trouble for what she did, but it's like, girl, what are you doing pulling moves that your dad doesn't even pull on me? Now in my mind, it's like, what friend did she do that to? And one thing was, yeah, so she said one thing was brought up last year, like was reported last year. the friend that she put up against the wall and went to go kiss, and then another friend seen it happen, and so they both reported that. Not to get Grace in trouble, they just want to know, like, Grace tried to kiss me. And then Grace put somebody in headlock. I think the headlock, I don't know which one was from this year, what one was from report from last year. But I gotta talk to her the same way I would talk to David and let her know in no way, shape, or form her hand should be going on anybody for any reason at all. To me, boy or girl, the only time hands should be on somebody else is if they have consent. Even with David, we told him, like, and this might be a little PG, whatever, I don't know what we call it, but like I told David, even with sex, like, say him and whoever was gonna have sex, I told David, the way you gotta do it nowadays, you have to keep asking throughout the entire time. I mean, because you got girls out there claiming stuff and even guys claiming stuff, right? But like I told David, even with kissing, you need to make sure, man. I know, like, there's social cues, but some people don't know how to always pick up on social cues. You don't want to do something and then the other person go along with it and then afterwards be like, oh, I didn't want to do that, and then, So I'm going to have the same talk with Grace. I mean, we have told her before, but apparently it needs to be reiterated. See, if this, I do feel like if this was reversed and this was David, and I heard that, if I was told that David put one of his friends up against the wall to go kiss them, would I react differently? Honestly, I don't know. My temperament and all that is way different now compared to when David was 13. That's like 6-7 years ago. Like, so much about how I would have gone about talking to David about that. It would be different now. Say if David was 13 now, I would talk to him the way I'm about to talk to Grace. But my temperament and patience and just stuff like that when he was 13 I was not chill. I had a bad temper. I wonder how Matt would deal with Grace. Matt does not know how to talk, man. Holy shit. When him and Grace interact, I mean, when we had Sunday supper here this past Sunday before we took off, I swear, some people and we talked to specialists and they said, what's going on with your daughter and your son's interactions and what's going on with your daughter and your husband's interactions is completely normal. And I'm just like, maybe it's because I grew up in a household with sisters. I mean, to be fair and honest, we didn't have conversations with our parents, and I can tell you right now, I know at my point, I would never talk back to my parents. Our kids are growing up in a different time, man. It's totally different because, I mean, David was too scared to speak up, but Grace is not. There's no nothing. She's not censored. She'll hold back from swearing or that, but she'll say stuff and she's making the faces and like, what are you going to do about it? And I mean, when her and Matt, and then you can see Matt, like, you can see the steam. And then I'm looking at Matt like, come on, Mama, you're the adult. We gotta, like, we can't tell our kids, like, speak up and speak your mind, because we can't read our kids' minds, right? I don't want them to be scared to say things. Like I said, with David, the temperament and patience and all that was different when he was Grace's age. So, and he said he's understanding of that because there's 6 years between him and Grace. And like David said, he's been watching me and he's seen how, like, I'm gone from this overreactor, blowing up, like, my ears would turn purple. I mean, I'd be yelling and cursing my head off, and that's just not me anymore. But yeah, Grace has no problem at home. But everything that gets done, I mean, if I was to talk to Grace like this, with my voice this loud, she'd be like, whoa. And she'd be upset and say that I'm yelling at her. And I'd be like, I'm just talking louder. I mean, she knows my yelling. But there's a lot of times where Grace is like, wow, remember, I'm just a kid. Like, she likes to throw that, I'm just a kid, I'm just a kid, I'm just a kid. She doesn't like it when I point out that's back talking or that's being disrespectful. And then she'll be like, what? I'm just speaking the truth. And trying to, like, help her understand the difference. I mean, David kind of did this too at some point. I know with Matt, David, and Grace, this is one thing they all have in common, and I possibly did before too, but once I caught on that it wasn't getting anybody anywhere, I kind of stopped. Getting the last damn word. Those three, when it's either David and Grace, I mean, I'm pretty sure I came on here 2 or 3 weeks ago about what happened in the dining room between David and Grace over chips. And then Matt and Grace is the same situation too. And I have to tell Matt, like, hey babe, like, come on, you're the adult here. Like, shut it down. I was like, and I told Grace too, I was like, listen, you're not off scot-free. You also need to learn somebody's got to take the initiative sometimes to just stop talking, to cut off whatever stupid ass argument that you guys are in over. And I say stupid ass argument because usually what transpires is from something so tiny, and then old stuff gets brought up and then nobody knows how to stop it. I'm just sitting here like, I mean, by the time Matt and Grace got out of their thing on Sunday, I was like sitting here like, and they're like, David said something. I was like, well, that was awkward as heck. I mean, Matt's the dad, so I'm trying to like make sure that he's being the dad, and at the same time I'm also trying to make sure that nothing gets said that doesn't go too far to the point where Grace gets triggered or something like that, and then she threatens to run away or I'm depressed and whatnot, right? It's yeah, man. Don't think I started crying in the meeting with the principal. Holy crap. Why? I was just like, ugh. I start touching my neck and that, and I start crying. Because I was trying to tell them, like, a big issue Grace has is her social interaction is so bad because she hasn't had an actual real friend. And she's like, that's what she wants. She just legit wants, and like, she knows she only needs one person, right? But like, she craves for that so bad. And I was telling the teacher that Grace kind of mentioned to me that she's touch starved, and Grace said not. And I was like, well, what do you mean by that? She's like, well, I don't mean like hugs and kisses from you and dad. She's like, I get that at home. She's like, but I mean from like other people. That kind of makes me like, I don't get that. I was like, what? Like, do you mean like hugging your friends or something? And she's like, well, Neptune, for instance, she's like, when I was at her house, we were sitting on the couch with that and we were just cuddling and we were both like, that feels nice. And I was like, okay. I mean, they had clothes not on. They weren't kissing or doing anything. They were just on the couch, cuddling like you would if the boyfriend or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, is it just because you're looking for comfort or something in like in another form that's not from mom and dad? I mean, I hug Grace as much as she will let me. I'm not like a give me a hug and chase them around. I don't believe in forcing kids to hug or let people kiss them or that if they don't want it. But I let Grace know, like, hey, I'm always here to hug, and I never let go. I always wait till she lets go, and then sometimes she'll let go, and I'll still hold on, and then she'll, of course, like, continue hugging. But Yeah, she said her and Neptune were talking about it. I mean, I can only take what Grace says with a grain of salt sometimes because it's possible Neptune didn't say the same thing. But she said that her and Neptune were talking about how they both like hugging and cuddling. And I was like, yeah, I can see that. I know when I was a kid, I don't think I was looking for cuddles and hugs from my friends. I don't know. It's a, how the kids are now is so weird, and I've been saying it since David started school. When I realized like things that were being talked about, and like you can't play fight at school. I mean, there was so much like talk about your feelings, and then you'll have people be like, "Well, it's good because when we were kids, we didn't get to talk about our feelings and stuff." I don't know. I don't think to a certain extent everything doesn't have to be like you hurt my feelings. I mean, I think you gotta have your feelings hurt sometimes. I think you gotta be let down sometimes. I think like because we need to know that we also need to know every day is not going to be fantastic. We're probably going to have some shitty days, but there's also going to be good days. We got to also know that things aren't going to always go our way. Like, we're going to be hurt, we're going to be sad, we're going to be broken, but you know what? The hurt, the sad, and the brokenness can be fixed. Maybe not in the way you want it to. I don't know, man. I feel like I want to go on a rant now. I mean, I guess that meeting wasn't too bad. I feel for Grace because she's going to be so embarrassed. Yesterday, she was like, whatever. She's like, I'm getting kind of scared now. I was like, why? If you haven't done anything bad, you should be good. She's like, I'm kind of nervous. I don't know what they're going to tell you. Grace doesn't even know what the girls look like that follow her home, eh? I do. They showed her a yearbook. Grace was pointing out kids that were in her own class, and she was saying, they're mean, that person's mean. I was like, I don't think she was exactly looking for the girls who followed her home. I did tell them, two of the girls straight up, I see them, I can tell you who they are. I don't know. Is Grace just trying to get some people into trouble? Possibly. But yeah, apparently she went through that yearbook and just was, she's mean, they're mean. Like, that's what she did. Like, people that she knows, not the three girls who followed her home. Grace believes the world's out to get her. Yesterday, she's like, man, being at school is like being at work. She's like, that's all it feels like. She's like, it's like being in jail. I mean, yeah. I like to get her into a rage room. I looked one up. There's a mobile one out here. It's kind of pricey. Grace needs to get into something where she needs social interaction outside of just school. But she refuses everything, man. Like, the teacher brought it up again, and I was like, what do you do? And they're like, well, yeah. I was like, people are like, oh, you're the parent. And they're like, exactly. But telling your kids to do something, it's a lot easier said than done. Like, especially trying to get them to do things outside of chores, whatever, like getting them to join a group or a sport or that. I don't believe in forcing your kids to do that. It would be kind of cool if we could come up with something where we tell Grace it's actually mandatory that she has to do it and get her into something. I told them, like, interest wise, Grace is fantastic. Like, she's very artistic. fantastic at that. She likes cosplay, making costumes. So there is a teacher at the school, because they have a fashion club. They're going to go talk to them and see if they can pull some magic on Grace and get her into the fashion club, possibly making clothes and costumes. That would be great. I think like Grace coming home and just watching TV or being on TikTok or playing video games. Now, mind you, when she's playing her video game, she's talking to some of her friends. But like when she plays Minecraft, she's not really talking to anybody. When she's on TikTok, she's just on there. I don't know. It would be great if she would join something to help, because you can't really build on your social skills if you don't do anything social. Like I told him, I mean, what are we supposed to do in that aspect? She refuses everything that involves her socializing with people, because then she's automatically, they don't like me, they're not gonna like me, they hate me, they think I'm ugly. Ugh. She will be home soon. Let's go check my Raid account. I've been letting that run this entire time. I did end up eating. What I did was I took Greek yogurt, which was 19 grams of protein for 3/4 of a cup, and I put I put a scoop of my iced cappuccino protein powder in there for another 25 grams of protein. I mixed that up. It tasted kind of like a cappuccino or a coffee cheesecake. And then I diced up one big apple and I threw that in there, and that's what I ate so far today. Protein. A high protein yogurt with apple. What time is it? It's 3:03, so... Yeah, this is so dark. Did I get any shards? 1. That's it? Wow, I don't have to sell half of my gear. I need speed boots, and I haven't having any luck with that. I probably end up selling most of this gear. Well, that helmet does... Is that 6-star? That's 6-star. I might want to keep that. Yeah, Grace should be getting out of school here soon. I might have to get off the video, especially if she texts. Because, I'm not gonna get that. I know Matt texted me right as soon as I got off, like I was about to get off the meeting. He's like, did you do the meeting yet? I texted him. I told him, it's just mostly about her social skills at school. Nothing for her to be in trouble for. But she definitely needs a talking to. I need to make sure she fully understands that just because she's a girl doesn't make it okay for her to behave certain ways. Man, I got crap gear. Okay, I don't want to sit here clicking each one. Okay. 1 shard in a dream. Why does this seem so dark? Well, I know why, because it is. Do I have you guys too high? I can't wait for supper. My nervous stomach, my anxious stomach is simmering down now. Man. Shouldn't I be getting... Man, I might as well finish this tournament. Ooh, I'm #1 spot on this one. Sweet. Okay. Dragon tournament. I thought there was another Classic arena takedown. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, dungeon divers. Oh, thank you. I should run more. I probably will. I'll run more dragon. Let's just open this shard though. I haven't gotten a legendary character in like quite some time. Oh, I already have her. Index. Did I pull somebody new? There's no way she's new. What? Really? I swear I pulled her before. Oh. Another one to add to my roster. Alright. It looks like nobody's doing... Why is nobody... One person did Brutal. And only 2 other people did Nightmare. Why is nobody doing Clan Boss? I can't be the only one pulling this team. I do need to do Hydra. I got 5 days to do my Hydra. Okay, I'll do that later today. I think David's up now. I hear his TV. Or his phone. Maybe he's in the bathroom on the shitter. I know where Leah said she might be. Or not where she might be. Why? If I don't hear from her over the next day or two. It's because she's also on the shitter. I was thinking I was going to be there all day today, but things seem to have calmed down. Oh yeah, that's David. I literally did nothing all day. I've just been literally waiting for the meeting to happen. It's 3 o'clock. Hyping myself up. Ugh. Doesn't look like it's raining. Hopefully Grace gets home before it looks like it stopped raining. Yep, I'll let some of that fresh air in. What I'll do, I'll put the lock on here so Luna, I don't know, on our patio door. I probably shouldn't show it, but you can lock it right here or right here. I'll do it on the first one, so just this. Oh, I want to open some, but not enough for Luna. Can Luna get in there if I leave it open that much? Hopefully not. And then you just push this down and it locks it. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's open, but I got it locked. I need to wash that. I don't know if you guys can see, but there's cat prints all over that. Do you guys see the pretty fall colors of the bushes down there? Okay. Scoop. Scoop. I should probably go pay some bills. I don't want to. Probably should though. Darn, car payment is coming out tomorrow. Car insurance is coming out tomorrow. We'd love to find cheaper internet. We're paying too much for it. Well, we have unlimited internet. Like I said before, everybody here, like we got gamers, online streamers. Of course, we've got like we need the internet to watch Netflix and whatever. So we have unlimited internet so we can make sure that we don't go over and then our bill be like 3 times the amount. Anyways, we pay on average like between 160, no, not 160. I think it's like a 170, 175 a month for unlimited internet with TELUS, and that's all we have. I'd like to find internet that's unlimited at a cheaper price, but I feel like that might be impossible, maybe. Well, I don't know. Nothing's impossible with God. But he's probably like, Tammy, I don't really care about you having access to internet. If we had to go without internet, we would. The main thing for us having internet for is being able, we pay all of our bills. I mean, but we could walk to the bank and do it. We don't have to have, I mean, man, David and Grace would freak if we didn't have the internet. What's that? I'm trying to see if I see a circle somewhere. Born to be, born to be, born to be. Oh man. I don't think my mom and dad, well, I know definitely not my dad. I don't think my mom ever went to a parent meeting, has she? Ever? I don't think so. Did mom even go to school functions? I don't think. Oh, well, actually, okay, I know she went to one. There was one time I used to be in choir. I loved choir. We were playing ukulele, and what's that song? What's the name of the song? Country Roads, Take Me Home. Country Roads. Yeah, I played that on ukulele. That was fun. Fun times. Grace is calling.